But this is the men's 5,000 metres T11 for those athletes that have severe sight disability. And we look through this field from Portugal, Ricardo Val. Nero of the Republic of South Africa, 1752, and the very strong Kenyan contingent of Chariot. As we go through the start of this men's race, Ricardo Val of Portugal. Karanja of Kenya. And this is Santos of Brazil. Alves of Portugal. This is Valenzuela of Chile. Another one of the strong Kenyan contingent, Chariot. The Mexican Zapian Rosas. Nero of South Africa.
Yeah, South Africa!
And Ricardo Betraza Losa of Spain. Season's best of 16:41. 12.5 laps for this men's 5,000 metres, including their guides. It's going to be a busy, very full track. And there is that world record. 15 minutes, 11 seconds. Very quick indeed. And we are underway in this T11 men's 5,000 metre final. Already just a little bit of chaos and confusion as this large group of athletes and their guides embark on one of the toughest journeys in all of sport, the 5,000 metres.
Yeah, you just see the Brazilian and the South African there just getting a little bit more speed at the start just to stay out of that trouble.
But it is the athlete from Brazil who decides to just get out of trouble by going to the front. That is Santos. South African, Jan Nero, doing a nice job there in second place. And then it is the Kenyan athletes currently sitting in third and fifth. Fairly pedestrian pace. We'll get an idea when they come through the 400 metre mark.
Pretty nice conditions here for 5,000 metre running. Slightly overcast, not too hot, and the wind is dying a little bit.
So 1:5:69, that is Chariot of Kenya. The South African just tucked in behind the Brazilian, Jan Nero. He's got a season's best of 16:08.99. So often around the world, the familiar sight of the Kenyan athletes normally bunched towards the front, and we just begin to see Chariot of Kenya begin to make a move and just try and close up on our leader from Brazil, and that is Adair Santos. Guides will be communicating with them, just giving them a little bit of a heads up exactly what those distances are and what is required to bridge those gaps.
And working with the guide is so important. You can see the great rhythm that the Brazilian athlete has there with his guide. You don't want to be fighting against your guide. It's very much a team event, this.
Yeah, it's a good point that you make, because the Brazilian looks a lot more comfortable with his guide. His head position tends to be a lot more relaxed. You still just sense the Kenyan doesn't quite have that confidence at the moment with that visual impairment to really just let himself go. And I think that's reflected maybe in the slightly low arms and the head slightly lifted.
Yeah, and I guess we sometimes forget too that the guide, you know, you don't want to have your guide having a bad day in an event like this. It's very much about both athletes being on their form on the day.
Well, when you look at that world record of just over 15 minutes, your guides have to be good runners in their own right. That's just over 3 minutes per K, over 5, and that's very quick running. It is the Brazilian athlete, though, Santos, who has a comfortable lead, and that lead almost up to 50 metres at the moment, but still a long way to travel. And saying that, he looks very composed, and he looks nice and relaxed through the face, but more importantly, he's maintaining good running form.
Yeah, definitely. Running form's so important. You don't want to be exerting more energy than you have to in a race like this. very easy to get fatigued quite quickly if you've got too much movement in your upper body.
Start to see the places second and third just beginning to change order. And it is the Kenyan athlete, Cheriot, who decides that he's more than happy just to sit on the pole line currently in third place. And I think we're seeing the Chilean athlete, Christian Valenzuela, now deciding that maybe the tempo just been a little bit too slow and wants to take control and take it to the front. And while they are jockeying for second and third, let's head back to the final stages of the shot put. It's been a great day for the Ukrainians, winning one of the relays earlier on, but this is the men's 5,000 metres T11, and the athletes have 7.5 laps to go. This man here from Brazil, Odir Santos, has a commanding lead of about 100 metres, and he's managing to hold it, but we are just starting to see a little bit more urgency amongst the chasers, and that includes the athletes from Chile and the athletes from Kenya, Cheriot.
Yeah, it was just see the Brazilian athlete coming here into the home straight, and the gap behind 100 metres perhaps just closing a little now as the other athletes behind start to get a little bit of pace on, sensing the urgency, coming up to 7 laps to go.
And this is the Mexican Zapian Rosas, who says, I'm still not happy. I want more consistency in regard to the tempo. I'm not here to necessarily run for the silver and bronze medal. I think that I'm here to win the World Championship. And now we see Christian Valenzuela of Chile also decide to pick up just a little bit of the work as they come at 7 laps to go.
But it's still very much this man, the Brazilian athlete, competing at something like a World Championships. It's all about getting your peak right, being in peak performance at the right time. For a lot of these athletes, they're competing out of season, normally used to competing in the Northern Hemisphere summer, so this is essentially their winter, and it's very much about who has got their preparation right on the day.
The two Kenyan athletes stuck in this group are Karanja of Kenya and Cheriot of Kenya. Cheriot is the Kenyan running closest to the pole and on the inside, and number 1571, those familiar and famous colours, is Francis Chuo Karanja. But the Brazilian athlete will come down. He will see that he has 6 laps to go of this 12.5, and so far the form looks good. He looks nice and composed. Nothing here to say at the moment that he's in any difficulty.
Yeah, and still a good 100 metres between the Brazilian and the rest of the bunch. These guys are going to have to start to step up the pace if they have any chance of catching the Brazilian.
Christian Valenzuela of Chile, Cheriot of Kenya, Karanja of Kenya, and then it is the Mexican making up the rest of this field, Luis Zapian Rosas.
Brazilian's looking so relaxed there.
Good upper body, shoulders nice and relaxed, head movement, not moving around too much. It's about just trying to visualise staying nice and tall, and if you can do that, you don't tend to sit back on your hips, you don't tend to sit back in the bucket, which is often a sign of fatigue. The communication coming on though from the guides. They're hoping that this maybe the Brazilian has gone out too quick and that he will come back to them rather than them having to necessarily try and bridge that gap.
So this chase group just starting to fragment a little bit. The Kenyan and I think it's the Mexican, just starting to make a little breakaway.
In fact, it is the athlete from Chile, I think, and that is Christian Valenzuela, but the Mexican still tucked in there, 1641. Rosas. And we see this athlete here in some sort of distress. That is Alves of Portugal. So that is disaster for the Portuguese. Had a very good heat to qualify for this final.
But still a good 100 metres between the chase bunch and the Brazilian, and perhaps even just drawing away a little bit from the chase bunch.
And still yet to see any real athlete take the initiative out of this chasing bunch. It might just be a simple case. They just don't have the legs to do it. They just simply don't have the mindset in that top 2 inches to go to that next level and put themselves in the box and sort of suffer, I guess, to try and bridge the gap. And it's about understanding your training. It's also about getting those lap times and knowing what you can do. They would have come in here with a race plan. They would have talked it through. And from the start, we've seen Santos, who leads this race, just go out very quickly. And I think he's sort of thinking to himself, well, out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah, and these guys chasing, if they're feeling pretty good, they're going to have to start going for it soon. You don't want to cross the line and have something left in the tank and be wondering, what if I'd gone harder? What if I'd gone earlier?
So this chase group will come down. The guides very much acting as the set of eyes for these athletes. 4 laps to go for that chase group. This is one of the most impressive displays of front running we have seen at these championships. I'm being very impressed by the whole Brazilian track and field program, and they're going to have an incredibly exciting Paralympics when they host the Olympic Games in 2016 in Rio. But the 2 Kenyan athletes now jostling for second and third, and very rarely do you see in international running the Kenyans fighting it out for the silver and bronze medal. But that is very much the way it is looking, as Santos, who currently is so far ahead, he's out of picture here, is going to come down towards the start-finish line, and that lead will be almost 150 metres. Remarkable running.
Yeah, the real battle at the moment here going on for the minor medals.
And this will be a race too. There'll be a bit of nationalism here, and they'll want a little bit of a pecking order within this Kenyan team. So Karanja and Chariot, and Karanja is the second of the 2 Kenyans, just sitting on the back there, number 1571.
And this Brazilian athlete looking so comfortable and so far ahead, you've got to wonder if perhaps that Kenyan world record or even the championship record is under threat.
That world record at just over 15 minutes. 15 minutes 11 set in Athens, Greece in 2004. But Chariot of Kenya just starting to gap his fellow countryman, Karanja. And the athlete from Venezuela, Christian Valenzuela, is struggling somewhat, the Chilean. And that bunch just continues to sort of, a little bit like a yo-yo, back and forward, and that's not always a good thing when you've got that such change in speed continuously. And as those athletes come around the back straight into the home straight, the man leading this race, Santos, has already crossed that start-finish line and has just 2 laps remaining to take out this gold medal in the 5000 metres T11. So Chariot of Kenya, Karanja of Kenya. And in the background, there is the very tall, very good-looking form of the Brazilian.
Tell you what, his composure hasn't changed throughout these 10 laps that they've already run. He's still looking relaxed and as fresh as a button.
500 metres, and then he will find out whether he is good enough to possibly have a wee nudge at this world record. He's probably just outside of it at the moment. He's more than likely going to have to run a sub-60-second 400 if he is to take that world record. Clock ticks over to 14 minutes. As we see the 2 Kenyan athletes still battling it out for second and third.
Yeah, you've got to think the Chilean athlete who's just dropped off there in the 4th.
Well, if he can run just over 60 seconds for this last 400, he will break that world record that was set back in 2004. So the gold medal is well and truly his. What he's running for now is the world record, and the word has gone out from his guide to put the hammer down and see if he can break this world record, as we see the 2 Kenyan athletes. And this is Chariot leading the fellow countryman Karanja, now the Brazilian athlete. He's got about 230 metres left to go. Can he sneak under this world record? He's going to have to move around the outside of this athlete here from Spain. This is not good when you're trying to chase the world record.
No, he's motoring past there. Just over 150 metres to go here for the Brazilian. What a fantastic run.
He's got the crowd standing here at QE2 Stadium to see if he can break this world record. It's one of the longest standing world records, 15:02. It's going to be very close. He may just miss out on that world record established back in 2004. It stands at 15:11.07, and he will just fall outside of the world record. But what a run, considering he went from start to finish. That is a great display of front running from the Brazilian.
And a championship record for his efforts.
And now a wonderful race going on here between the two Kenyans. And at the moment is Chariot number 1569, who leads his fellow countryman Karanja. And it'll come down to who's got the kick. Karanja now thinking about moving into the outside lane to see if he can kick past Chariot, but Chariot will take the silver medal. It will be Kenya, silver and bronze. And again, a very good run from these athletes, both going under that 16 minutes. But the celebrations in the stand continue for what has been a very good World Championships for Brazil. And there it is, Santos, 15 minutes, 16 seconds, a new games record. But you just sense, with a slightly stronger field, a little bit more competition, that world record can very